Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs, and welcome to the John Campea Show, Andor, After Show. I'm, of course, your Duke of Dope Discourse, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am joined by the great, the incomparable Kris Carr.
Oh, hey. How you doing, Rod?
You know what I have to say, after watching this show, I'm doing extraordinarily well.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Star Wars really meant a lot to me. I am an OG Star Wars fan. I was there opening weekend. Saw the film, and it changed my life. Mm-hmm. And it really did. And then as in the wake of Star Wars, it's hard to explain to people that when Star Wars first graced our screens, there had not been anything like it in Hollywood before. There was nothing analogous to it. You could say, well, 2001 had photorealistic effects and all that. That is true, but not like Star Wars. The immersive nature of the universe, the galaxy a long time ago and far, far away that George Lucas created. Sitting in that theater, when that crawl started to roll, everybody was like reading to themselves, because no one had ever, other than the serials of the 30s or 40s, no one had ever seen anything like that. And peak verisimilitude in terms of sci-fi action adventure. And the thing that Star Wars taught me as a 10-year-old boy was I took it very seriously. And if you watch the original Star Wars, it really 30 minutes is spent acclimating you to the world, and you meet Luke. And the thing about Luke Skywalker is, and all the characters in Star Wars, Luke is a farmer, Han is a truck driver, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is a veteran of foreign wars. And then there's the jackbooted thug soldiers of the Empire. But basically, Luke is us. Luke is the audience. Whether you're a boy or a girl, young or old, Luke Skywalker is all of us, because we all, when he's turning the power down on the Lars farmstead, moisture farm, and you see the twin setting suns of Tatooine, and you hear the French horn of John Williams. No. We're all there. We've all stood and looked out toward our non-existent future and thought, there must be something better. Mm-hmm. So everybody who watched Star Wars for the first time and subsequently has identified with someone in the film, but mostly Luke, because he's the everyman. And the thing about it was, that whole movie was, to me, in my mind, as a 10-year-old, very serious. It was not undercut. There was no Jabba the Hutt in the original Star Wars. There was no Rontos in Mos Eisley. There were no Jawas hanging off, bucking Rontos. There was no flying droids around. Mos Eisley was a backwoods West Texas shithole. I know no offense.
No, that is wildly accurate.
And so for the first 20 years, Star Wars and Empire were very, very serious affairs. And in my mind, Jedi undercut that tone. You can tell in the first 5 minutes, the design, from the Gomorian guards to Bib Fortuna to the circular microphone that comes out of the goodness gracious, whatever, talking to R2 and 3PO, it changed. So, but for the first, from 1977 to 1983, pre-Jedi release, for those 6 years, Star Wars really shaped my life. And I took it seriously. And I think a lot of people did too. I haven't felt the way I felt about Star Wars and Empire. Sort of in Rogue One, but it didn't feel like Rogue One, it didn't link up to Star Wars the way I wanted it to. But this show I felt like it was the kind of Star Wars show that brought me back to how I felt about Star Wars when I first saw it in 77 and 1980.
Aw, I love that for you. That's wonderful.
So I asked you, what did you think of the first 3 episodes of Andor?
I really enjoyed this, and very different Star Wars experience, right? My dad set me down to watch these movies on a VHS, and for me, it was a fairy tale. It was this beautiful, beautiful fairy tale about how you had to go rescue a princess who could end up rescuing herself, how you had all of these fantastical creatures and everything, and how it ultimately was the story of a broken family, which is what most fairy tales are about.
Right.
But that said, one of the things that has honestly bummed me out about the Star Wars universe is how small it has been, how it's really, really doubled down on the Skywalker saga constantly. We're in a vast universe, but it has a Dickensian nature to it in which everyone knows everyone. And that's not how any world works.
No.
We're not all interwoven in that way. And while that can be some really interesting storytelling, I wanted to see the expansion of the universe. And we got some of that in Rogue One. And as you know, for me, that was a movie where I went, oh, this is fine. I didn't love it like everyone else did, much to the chagrin of the internet who thinks I'm a monster for it. But it just didn't hit all the right notes for me, right? There were a couple missteps for me personally. That being said, watching Andor, oh my gosh, did this check everything off for me? Because I love Star Wars visions too. I love exploring different types of storytelling within this universe because it doesn't all have to fit the same mold. We're in a vast universe filled with thousands, billions of different types of people, creatures, aliens, you name it. So doing different types of storytelling.
Trillions.
Yes. Like having a kind of sexy spy, espionage, wartime story is really, really great. And it works so well because you still know that you're part of this universe, but it's such a different vibe. And it just really, really works for me.
Well, even in Star Wars, the first time I saw Star Wars and you get to the moon of Yavin where the rebel base is set up, even I was thinking, who are those people? Mm-hmm. They've set up this base, this huge sprawling hangar where they've got General Dodonna and, and all the people practicing or plotting how they're going to attack the Death Star. They're already in place. Like Luke and Han, they just show up there. But the rebellion is in full swing. And as a matter of fact, the rebellion, we're almost at the end of the rebellion. This is a last-ditch effort to save themselves from the Death Star. And if it didn't work, the rebellion might have been erased from existence. I mean, there would have been another rebellion that sprouted up somewhere else. But I've always been fascinated by, we were following one group of people around, but as you watch Star Wars and Empire, I mean, even like, Jawas are collecting all this junk. There's a lot more junk than just R2 and 3PO on Tatooine. They've got a whole sand crawler full of it.
There's so many things that they're yelling Utini about.
Absolutely. And that was the thing about the Star Wars universe that would fascinate me when, you read Splinter the Mind's Eye, the Marvel comics and everything that I mean, there weren't a lot of Star Wars. No, there was Han Solo, the Han Solo trilogy. There was the Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu.
Ooh.
Or Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ocean. I devoured this stuff. But in all of those books, there were new characters you'd never met. And the idea that this rebellion, when Biggs tells Luke, I've got some crazy story, or Luke tells Big, I've got some crazy stories to tell you. All of these things have been going on. There's a whole universe going on. And I loved seeing, I mean, the first episode opens with Cassian Andor going across a bridge into a section of an imperial or a town. It's a town that's not even an imperial town. It's some company. It's a company town.
Yeah.
Full of workers.
Lots of mining and stuff goes on there.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminded me of like Con Am 27 from the movie Outland, which is Peter Boyle runs this. They mine on the moon of Io, on the moon of Jupiter. That was this kind of thing. And Cassian Andor goes into the local brothel to look for his sister. You don't know what's going on, but immediately you recognize this. And then these two guys think he's an entitled asshole. And they start, what are you doing here? Like, why are you talking to her? Get in line, buddy. And I immediately was taken back to, this is Cassian Andor in this place is probably recognizable to many people in the audience. It's not our world, but it's a world that has similar concerns.
Absolutely. That one just kind of throwaway line too of no one would use their real name here.
Right.
Of just, oh, okay. Do we know if everyone takes up this vocation willingly? Are we selling people into this? Is this, a choice that his sister made? Oh my gosh. Because that immediately when it was, I'm here looking for my sister, you're immediately invested because there's some stuff we didn't get in Rogue One. Oh my gosh, a character we didn't meet. I'm so invested in this part of your journey now too. And on top of all of the rebel spy goodness.
Well, then I love the fact that we're juxtaposing Cassian Andor's journey from his home planet, which I thought was really interesting. So there's presumably an indigenous tribe. All the adults are gone.
It's very Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, and I'm like, are these people that have already been victims of the Empire? Have they been stuck in this aboriginal planet? It didn't feel to me like they were necessarily native. It felt like, or if they were, the adults had all been killed off. It felt to me very Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, where Captain Walker and Mrs. Walker, the kids crashed in this plane and then they developed this life and they're waiting for Captain Walker and Mrs. Walker to come back and liberate them, and instead they get Max Rockatansky. But I thought it was really what an interesting choice. And immediately they're not telling you everything. you're discovering this. You know it's Cassian as a child, but you're meeting all of these different people, and then what was really interesting, and this is such a bizarre thing for me to even say, but the idea of the meteor in Rings of Power and the ship that's crashing overhead. I'm like, here we're seeing the juxtaposition of all these shows that we're watching, but the imagery of looking up and seeing the promise of something, and then of course these kids mobilize to go see what is to be seen. What is, and you don't know, have they seen ships come in? I mean, obviously that was from the end of a battle, which we don't see, or something happened, but we never know why. Yeah. And yet it immediately, and the way this is developing, how it's juxtaposing young Cassian and what's going on right now, and how he becomes part of this team and meets his adoptive mother, call it that. I found it completely captivating, totally interesting, and it was done with a seriousness and a somberness that I was so there for. And I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted. And when you're seeing the juxtaposition of him as a child and then where he's at now, where everybody's scheming, everybody, they all work for this company doing mining or whatever. No one is on the up and up. No one's really happy. Everyone's trying to eke out a meager living.
Yeah, there's people selling parts on the black market kind of stuff too. The people who come into town, right, as we see, also aren't there for things that are particularly above board.
No, and if you need to go use black market radio transmitters, you crawl into where to do that, and everybody's backroom dealing. And I love this whole milieu, and I was so just taken by it. Not only that, as the Viceroy of Verisimilitude, as people have called me, I loved the reality of it all. I mean, they did shoot some things on the volume, but for the most part, they're on real sets. You have long tracking shots through lots of people, and they would do things like you pull the camera back and you allow the background to cross in front, and the camera would follow Cassian walking down a street. And again, it just creates the reality of that environment for you. And I was so locked into this.
I mean, there's real scope here too, right? Everything's so cinematic. And one of the things that you guys had brought up too that I thought really nailed it on the head for Obi-Wan was there were moments where it just felt so like tight and closed off and shut down from the rest of the universe because they were working on a soundstage more than likely. And that sprawling set like you're talking about, it really, really does just immerse you in this world. And again, make you so much more invested because there's realism to it.
Absolutely. And the thing about Star Wars that I think the TV shows have missed is everything in Star Wars was really big. The Sandcrawler was big. The Death Star was big. Star Destroyers are big. The technology is overly large, which gave it a sense of wonder, which added to the whole feel of the universe. And I think that has been sorely lacking in Mandalorian, and sorely lacking certainly in Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett. And I'll tell you something. I had a hard time believing like Book of Boba Fett, not just because the Vespa gang or anything like that, but even the way people reacted to things, I didn't find it as convincing. This to me was very convincing, and that's what I'm like, oh, like when I first saw Star Wars and then later Empire, I'm like, I believe this. I didn't believe in Jedi, and I certainly didn't believe in the special edition of Star Wars that added subpar Jabba the Hutt and added CG shots and like all these creatures in Mos Eisley. It's a sprawling metropolis now. It's no longer.
That's why it's the center of the universe.
It used to be if there's a bright center of the universe, Tatooine is the planet that it's furthest from. Well, unless you're a pod racer, because you can go to the Boonta Eve pod race sponsored by the Hutts.
So fun.
I'm like,
why wouldn't you go?
Yeah, I just don't believe anymore. But this made me believe in Star Wars again.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. And we meet so many characters in these first 3 episodes too. We come across Bix, who I think is just fantastic in this.
I mean, a tough as nails, a woman character that's tough as nails, doesn't take any shit, yet still, has a boyfriend.
Yes. Who? Oh my gosh, can we talk about Tim? Tim, this son of a bitch. Turning on Andor, which I understand. Everyone in these few episodes seems really fed up with Cassian.
Right.
They are at their threshold with his antics, his behavior, his needing of money.
Well, because he's pushing everybody.
Yes.
I mean, you're not really his friend.
No.
You're a resource for him to exploit.
Exactly. And I understand he is on this kind of very single-minded mission of kind of exploiting the Empire, finding his sister, doing what he can, And we're seeing that at this point in time, he does not care how that affects other people
No.
at all.
No, and everybody's like, oh, please do this for me just one more time, please.
Yeah.
You know, he's pushing everything out on the edge.
His mining friend is so wonderful. Just has so many lovely moments of just nonverbal acting that's just chef's kiss.
I loved the scene when he comes to talk to his mining friend. He goes, okay, here's what happened last night, and gives him the whole cover story. And then his friend, without missing a beat, continues the cover story and says what he will say.
Yep.
You know, that was some smart writing. The script, by the way, the dialogue in this was great.
It's great. The only thing that took me out, and it's totally fair that they did this, was, did you make any calf? And I was like, oh, boo. It's like in Dragon Prince when they say, I have brown magic potion. Wait, it's coffee. We know it's coffee. I get it. I get it that you have to Star Warsify it, but that was the only one that made me go, yeah, all right.
Well, because it was a little, the thing is, I don't like when they shorten real world words into something that you're supposed to be like, come on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't call it that. You know, you would have something totally different.
Exactly.
You would have a Star Wars word, not something, not a shortened Earth word.
Just thumb through that Star Wars cookbook, y'all. There's something in there you could borrow. But that is being so nitpicky about a tremendous script, because the writing in the first 3 episodes is really solid, grounded, relatable, and keeps you invested.
Now, I've seen already, I mean, there's a lot of chatter on the interwebs about a lot of people thinking it's boring. Now, you know, for somebody who's a veteran of John le Carré things like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, like impenetrable spy thriller dramas, I've always loved that. To me, I was already settled in on the idea of what I was going to be getting and watch this slowly unfold. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I like the fact that we were also watching this security functionary, you know, this guy who, he's a fascist jackbooted thug, but he takes pride in his job. Like, even these guys, I mean, the security team, the company security, they'll do the least amount of work to get through their workday. But here's a guy who's redesigned his own uniform, tailored it, and you know he's just a monumental douche.
Oh, yeah.
And I hated him from moment one. But as it went along, as the show went along, I started developing a grudging respect for this guy.
You understand Syril Karn's perspective and how if one of your coworkers was murdered,
right,
you wouldn't want that swept
2.
under the rug. Two
of your coworkers.
2 of them are. So you understand his position. You understand why he does not like everyone else's complacency. I feel like I bring up this movie all the time, but there were such Hot Fuzz vibes, especially because one of the actors is in this, in episode 2, I believe. But just all of them being like, oh, yeah, well, they do their own thing. So I don't think we should really look into it. It's fine. And you're like, none of your coworkers respect you. None of them at all.
And one of my favorite scenes we talked about earlier when his immediate boss is like, look, you know, these guys were someplace where they had too much money. They probably shouldn't have been there. They ran across the wrong dude, mm-hmm. you know, and let's just let it go. Because that's the kind of world they live in.
Yeah.
You know, no one's going to lift a finger. And that's like our world. You have to do something really, you got to get people to care. And here's a guy, and it's funny because he could have been the hero if you flipped the script.
Yes.
Because Cassian and Andor could have been the villain. It depends on a certain point of view.
Exactly.
Depending on how you're. And here would have been our, like in Hot Fuzz, you've got your buttoned up hero, you know, that wants to do the right thing.
And then you have the Andes.
Absolutely. And it was, and I really liked him. And boy, did he bite off more than he could chew.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just his whole team there just getting got.
I loved all that too.
Yes.
I mean, the ship, and I love the fact that somebody sabotaged that one of their ships, you know, and it's you don't even know who necessarily did it.
Yeah.
It could have been Andor, and it could have been Stellan Skarsgard.
And the confusion it caused too. If they're behind us now, oh my gosh, we're surrounded. This is a siege.
No, and then the wait. Oh, you watch episode 3.
I did watch episode 3. Yeah, I prepped for this one. I prepped for this
in the warehouse with the falling down.
Yeah,
whatever those were. They could have been anvils from a Warner Brothers cartoon, but they were fall. It was. I would love that. I mean,
cool. Stellan Skarsgard is so awesome in this too.
So awesome.
Like,
we don't know who he is really.
He's rad as hell, and I'm so intrigued by him because this whole character Luthen that we don't know anything about right now. Whew.
I even love there's an effect shot in this that I just loved. It was an overhead shot of that of the swoop bike with the two of them on it, like going over, like it was like someone's farming and you've got like rice paddies and there's this squared off and it goes right over. I was like, that they didn't need to do that. They didn't have to put that shot in there. That was an extra added effect shot. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because again, it was world building. Like, oh, somebody's farming. You know, on the outskirts of this town, there's rice paddies or whatever.
Well, you said it on the main show today. These people have jobs. It's so nice to see everyone going to their job that is not the Jedi Council.
Right.
It's so cool.
And that's what I think. I mean, a lot of people are going to be like, where are the X-Wings? You know, where are the lightsabers? I think, look, if anything, I hope this opens a new avenue for what Star Wars can be on both the small and the large screen, because there's lots of other stories to be told in the Star Wars universe. So I don't just need Jedi Knight and Sith Lords running around.
Exactly. I love those. I appreciate those. I'm excited for more of them, you know, in Mandalorian and other franchises, or other spinoffs of this franchise, I should say. But boots on the ground's pretty fun. I
mean, the only criticism I have really for me is that I wish this was just one. I think Dan Murrell reviewed it and said he wishes it was just one 90-minute movie. Like there were 4 90-minute episodes, because it didn't feel, they're not writing these shows to be episodic. I'm sure they had one script that was 90 pages long. They had one director. That's why they're doing them in these 3 episode sections. But they don't have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They're not written with a TV structure in mind. And they just end the episodes. Thank God we got all 3.
Absolutely, because I completely agree with that. Once you get to the end, it's kind of those are credits. Okay. And it was nice that we could get through all of them. You know, I did my 2 this morning and then my episode 3 just before we did this show. And if I had not gotten all 3 episodes, I definitely would have had a different opinion on this show. I mean, watching it immediately, my first reaction, I was just talking to my friend Brandon about it. It was, this is so cinematic. This is so beautiful. This is wonderful. But I think if I had only seen the first episode, I would have gone, huh?
Right. I will say this. Perhaps my favorite droid since R2-D2.
B2 Emo, which is such a good name.
B2 Emo.
That B2 Emo is baby, and we must protect, and I love him. The actor playing B2 Emo was also the puppeteer for BB-8 in Force Awakens and everything. So it's really cool to see them come back. I really, really like that.
And I'll tell you something. The fact that in order to BB-8 was created at the expense of R2-D2. That's one of the things. R2-D2 is left with a tarp over his head in Force Awakens. I mean, this is the worst kind of storytelling. Let's create new characters, but we'll have to denigrate our old characters.
It's like what they did to Rizzo and the Muppets.
Yeah, not good.
No.
Don't like it. This droid, I love this droid because it gets the job done, even though he's a little challenged technologically. You know, but he's still going to get you where you want to go. I mean.
And care so much for the Andor family. I mean, Ray described this earlier too, which I think was wonderful. They did it again. They made a droid like a dog, and you just get so invested then, because you're like, oh, this droid loves Cassian.
Yeah,
this robot loves. Oh,
yeah,
love it. Love
it's
it so
true.
much. When something terrible happens to it, and it will, I'm sure. I'm going to be really upset. I'm going to cry a lot about a robot that doesn't exist.
So we know that in episode 4, they go to Coruscant and things change. Mon Mothma comes into that we're going to see a different things.
Genevieve O'Reilly reprising the role too.
Yeah.
So she's great in Rogue One.
Incredible. So we're both in.
Hell yeah.
Big thumbs up.
So far, I am very, very invested in this show. I'm excited to see more about how young Cassian reacted to the abduction move, however he sees this. I'm excited to see more of that backstory. I want to learn more about Bix and everyone else involved. And I really want to learn about Luthen.
And I want to know what's going to happen to our disgraced functionary, our quote unquote, the villain, I guess.
Yes.
Because he ain't going to be happy.
Oh, yeah.
Men are dead on his watch. He's going to get reprimanded, I think, in a big way.
Oh, man. Just when you tailor your suit. Oof.
Yeah, a lot of good that did you, buddy.
Yeah.
You walked right into something you weren't ready to handle. On that note, we want to know what you guys handle, or what you want to handle, what you like handling. That was a bad segue. Anyway, before we get to what you're going to say to us and to the world at large, we're going to hear from our sponsor of this show, our friends at Mint Mobile.
Hey guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. And now for the plot twist. I'm just kidding, there isn't one. Seriously, Mint Mobile just has premium wireless service from $15 a month. There's no trapping you into a 2-year contract or opening the bill to find these crazy fees. There's no luring you in with free subscriptions to streaming services that you'll forget to cancel and be charged full price for. I used to dread opening my phone bill every month because every time I was opening it was like playing roulette. I never knew what the actual price was going to be and it always seemed to get higher. But not with Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And if you're worried about the complication of switching things over, don't. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So guys, get premium wireless from just $15 a month and no unexpected plot twists at mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Seriously, you'll make your wallet very happy at mintmobile.com/Campea.
And thanks to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this Andor After Show. Kris, I think it's time to hear from all the Force users out there.
Yay! Let's assess your metachlorians. All right, Arjun Athwal, what do you think the chances are of seeing the Emperor at some point when the show focuses on Coruscant and the Senate?
I would say probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Ian McDermott's going to be in the in this show, but I would imagine if you're going to start dealing with the Imperial Senate, he would have to at some point.
I would assume so.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Emperor post we've seen, post Revenge of the Sith, how he's perceived by the public. Mm-hmm. I want to see that. Like, does do the people that work for the Empire, do they dig him?
Well, yeah, I really
does
wanna
the everyman?
Because that's the issue when we're dealing with fascism, right? Historically, there were people that supported it.
Right.
We constantly think about how obviously everyone would be a rebel. The rebels are the good guys, and these people are horrible. Which, like, one, in the series, we're getting more of the why of all of this fighting. And two, we need to have people who side with them who aren't mustache-twirling evildoers. They have to see the benefits of the Empire.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm really curious to see. The people that like the Empire.
Exactly.
So, well.
From Daniel Vacura, they are retroactively making Andor more interesting in Rogue One. I wasn't looking forward to the show. I didn't think it was needed, but happy to be wrong. I'm still looking forward to Acolyte most. Nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fair, but I think, look, this show is giving us insight into the Star Wars universe we've never seen on film before. And I think a much-needed breath of fresh air as opposed to Obi-Wan or, to me, Obi-Wan needed to have more of this kind of tone. I'm not saying it couldn't have been fun, but it's like, okay, Princess Leia, Darth Vader.
Yeah.
All right.
We get it.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? From Arjan Othwell. I really hope this show is a success. This is the kind of Star Wars I always wanted. Such a breath of fresh air.
Well, apparently, Arjan, great minds think alike.
Yeah, we agree. We agree. This is a nice change of pace.
It is.
From Daniel Vacker again. Stellan Skarsgard is my favorite part of this show so far. He's so good.
Well, he's such a badass.
Yeah.
I mean, I've loved him all the way back to Hunt for Red October, 33 years ago, when he's one of the captains of the Russian submarine going after Marco Ramius.
Oh, yeah.
I've loved Stellan Skarsgård. He's great.
He's wonderful. And how just cavalier he was with you should kill him. I'll kill him. I can kill him. So good. I'm so hyped for him in this.
Should I say, okay, what's next?
Here you go. The Sock, sending in an almost $20 super chat.
Thank you, the Sock.
Feel bad for the lieutenant. Lieutenant, he's gung-ho and wants to see action and feels like he earned his stripes, but I think he honestly does care about justice. Maybe not as much as Javert, but still, he just bit off more than he could chew.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about this character. I don't hate him. I appreciate what he's trying to do. He's got this job. He's trying to make the most of it. He might be, trying to suck up to the boss and that kind of a thing, but he really does care about doing his job. And I think this is an important distinction to make. It's who makes up fascism, if not us?
Ooh, what heady shit, RMB. Whoa.
Well, that's how we become fascists. We just try and do our jobs.
Check out the brain on Rob,
I was just
y'all.
following
He's
orders.
smarty. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well,
I hope they explore that more. What else?
We're so far apart. I'm glad
I know.
we're simpatico of the
I know.
minds.
It's always weird when we're not at the same desk.
I know. It's come over here.
From Daniel Baccara, if the upcoming episodes are going to have those sudden endings with no real feeling of a conclusion, that isn't good. It could just be 4 long episodes like BBC and like season 2 in the structure of the years.
I mean, I agree with Daniel. I think this is a problem across the board for all of the Disney MCU and Star Wars shows. They're not structured like traditional television. And I mean, even look at the way House of the Dragon ends. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end to every episode. These first 3 episodes of Andor felt very open-ended. I mean, it started in the middle of an action sequence. Well, not action sequence, but Cassian was going to do something. He was in the middle of a mission, going to potentially find his sister or whatever. And then it kind of abruptly ends in the middle of the storyline. And there was no like waypoint in the story, which most TV shows would end at either a cliffhanger or some resolution.
Yeah. I think if we didn't even cut to the credits, if it just let me skip to the next episode, I wouldn't have found it so jarring.
Right.
Because it would have just felt, oh yeah, this is the natural cut to the next thing.
Yes.
But hopefully our next episode, we will have a more definitive end.
Well, what I do like about this is eventually someone's going to make their own fan edit where it all just comes together in one long narrative. Yeah. Not that I'm suggesting anybody should pirate the show and make their own fan cut. Not suggesting that. But, you know.
But we can't tell you your business.
No. Yeah. What's next?
From CJ Rebirth. Loving this show, and I hope Bix makes it through the season because, wow. Sucks I already know what happens to Cass because I see chemistry between the two of them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she exudes chemistry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love her. I mean,
she's wonderful.
And I did get the feeling that there was already something between them. And then maybe Cassian's his ways caused her to go to greener pastures.
Exactly. She ditched him to focus on Tim because everyone keeps alluding to multiple women, angry husbands.
Yes.
So Cassian seems like he's a bit of a cad too.
A bit of a cad.
Yeah. And you know, poor Bix just lost Tim, who, even though he ratted out Cassian, seemed like he really, really cared about her.
He did. But life is cheap.
Shame.
It's too bad. What's next?
From Santes Henderson. I need a woman like Bix in my life.
Yeah.
I mean,
although
who doesn't?
Probably a lot of heartache though there.
Probably.
Rob, I gotta
Not
tell you something. The whole 3 episodes, I thought the character's name was Biggs and that it was a call out to your character, Big Starklighter.
That shall go unexplained in this after show. Okay, what's next?
From Santos Henderson again. Brilliant idea dropping 3 episodes at once. I was a little lost on episode 1, but by episode 3, I was sold. The visuals are great, action is great and practical. It was everything I wanted in this show.
I agree. I mean, you know, again, Tony Gilroy, who's a veteran of writing the 3 Bourne movies, I believe he won an Academy Award for a screenplay for Michael Clayton, which he also directed. I mean, we've got a real heavy hitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a way, I kind of equate what Tony Gilroy is doing here with Andor with what Nicholas Meyer did for Star Trek and Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Ooh, that's a great comparison.
Yeah, and he did work on Rogue. He was brought in to sort of shape Rogue One, but this is him doing his thing. And I'm all for auteurist visions. I mean, he didn't direct these 3. But I'm all for these auteurist visions of the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely. I feel like if you've done really well in one specific type of genre too, and bring that into the world here, it's such a fun sandbox to play in. And then to just kind of change things up, make it about espionage, make it about interwar intrigue. That's really, really cool. And
totally
hasn't
agree.
been properly done yet. So this is really fun.
Really good. What's next?
From Jamie Sundays. Ain't no way Tim was able to get a girl like Bix. Jamie, he sure did.
Yes, he did. And you know what? Look, this is life during wartime. You know, you never know where you look for comfort when things like this are going on.
Sometimes you just want a nice Scottish guy who makes you coffee in the morning.
That's right. He might not be Insta-famous, but he gets the job done.
Exactly.
So.
Sometimes we just want someone sweet and nice.
And with that accent.
That's very true, yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
What's next?
From Daniel Baccara. I thought episodes 1 and 2 were really good, but the episode breaks don't work at all and were sudden with the endings. Episode 3 was great, where it felt like one long episode.
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I think they should have released this as just, if they're going to release all 3 episodes, why not call it a TV movie and release it as a one long thing? Like, I don't know, the Star Trek: The Next Generation pilot encountered Farpoint. That was 90 minutes. Why not do that with this?
And I would sit there for all of it. It's not like the having 3 episodes versus a one film would like deter me either.
No.
I don't know.
Just make this a long pilot episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they want to call it 12 episodes for whatever reason.
Emmys. Maybe.
It's a normal series as opposed to a limited series.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're
Maybe
going
that's
for.
it. That could be it.
Could be. What's next?
From Tim Platt, me. I thought the first 2 episodes were fine, but not as awesome as I've been hearing. Episode 3 to me. Hold my blue milk.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because everybody wants to see, I think people are expecting the House of the Dragon treatment where there's a lot of talking and not as much action is not necessarily, I don't think that's the way to go with Star Wars. But I think that this is a slow build up to what we're going to see.
Yeah, I think also, I've said this before, is I feel like people really just forgot how to watch television. It's
Right.
not all apples and oranges. Certain things I think should be binge, certain things shouldn't be. This obviously, by putting them together, made more sense. Same thing with like Rings of Power, right? If we had just gotten 1 episode, that would not have worked. I know it still isn't working for some of you, but hold on. You know, I think people just want to rush through stuff and get to the meat of it first. And if that happens, you don't have a satisfying show. You have to have the build-up, you guys.
No, I totally agree with that. And also, you know, now that we have this bingeable thing, we want all this stuff to be fast and furious so we can get to the next thing. It's like nobody wants to sit back and just let it wash over you. It's like let's get through it because there's something else to watch. And I feel like, man, there's films I love from the 1960s I would never recommend to anybody because they would watch it for 5 minutes and tune out. So
I believe that.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
What's next?
From Camo Prods. Hi, John. Did you guys notice the word shit in the 3rd episode? This is a first in Star Wars. Have we never said shit in Star Wars?
I don't know. I don't think it'd mean the same thing, though.
I thought it said shat because they put the at symbol for the I.
Oh, maybe.
Could
Shat.
be.
I mean, there's a lot of Scottish folks in here.
They said in
Shit?
one of the episodes because I heard it too. I was
What word, Ray?
All right. Well,
Okay.
apparently they're swearing. I mean, depending on where you are in the world, shit's either a worse word or
well, I thought
you
I
know.
heard it.
That's fair.
Could be.
I've said it 5 times now in this after show, so
Well,
doing.
shit. What's next?
From Sam Fisher. Is Bix from Canary 2?
I don't know.
I don't think so,
I
but
don't-
we don't know.
We don't know. I don't think so either. And if I mean, what happened to all those kids?
Yeah.
Andor was taken by himself. I didn't see that there's a really, like his sister was he just saying he was looking for a sister? Like, was that his real, or was that just a cover
I think
story?
he really is.
Yeah, we'll
I think
see.
He's really looking for her.
Okay.
What else we have? From The Sock again. Quite good. You feel and understand the tension and uneasiness about giving details about anything to anyone. The flashbacks really dragged for me. Oh, I was so intrigued by like the Lost Boys gone wrong.
Right. I mean, I was curious about that. I kept asking myself, where are the adults? What has happened here? Why are they stuck here? And clearly they knew enough to, like, when a ship crashed, to go scavenge it or to see what was up. So this probably wasn't something that only happened once.
Yeah,
I found it all fascinating.
absolutely. But hopefully that'll pick up for you though next time.
What's next?
From Sam Fisher. Do you think we will see Cassian's sister in season 1? Oh, great question.
I mean, look, it's a question that was posed in the opening scene. I would hope that they would answer that question at the end, at least by the end of season 1, because I don't know, because we don't know anything about his sister, is that a lingering mystery that we're going to have? I think that's something we need to, because we don't know anything about her. We don't even know when he says sister, does he mean somebody from his home planet or what?
I was going to say, I assume it's the little girl we see him, running around with and everything, who keeps yelling Cass after
Yeah.
him. I think you do have to have that payoff by the end of season 1, though, of at least hello, Cass.
Or
in
they're
the
going to
Canary
show us
language.
something.
Yeah.
Because assuming like she had to have been lost, so they had to have been together at some point, and then she disappeared. That's why he's looking for her. I mean, he could have just gone back to that planet and picked her up, right? Couldn't they have just gone back there?
Potentially.
Later?
I'm assuming somebody went and took all those kids and did awful stuff of sending them across the universe.
Terrible.
Yeah.
What's next?
From Sam Fisher. I feel like cutting between past and present could have been clearer. I didn't realize Marva doing salvage was in the past until I saw Casa.
Well, that could be. I mean, I thought it was pretty apparent what was going on. But I mean, for some people, I can understand that. That's another thing I like about the show. They don't spell everything out right away. You have to pay attention. And I've always liked that about shows.
Same.
So what's next?
From Matthew Medina, Andor is the how. Why rebellions form, plight of indigenous people, socioeconomics, subjugation of lower classes, and how social systems react to it.
I totally agree with that. That permeates this show.
That is a great encapsulation of what this is.
And I think that it's a great, it shows you that here's the powder keg that's going to explode into the rebellion. And I love that that's what we're seeing. And I think this is something that was very necessary in the Star Wars universe. I'm glad to see it.
Same.
What's up next?
Jamie Sundays. The Latinofication of Star Wars is making this Mexican kid from East LA so damn happy. Also, hats off to the Skarsgard family. What year they're having. Woo.
They're
What a life.
everywhere.
What a lifetime the Skarsgards are having.
I mean, you got Stellan Son and Barbarian, which is in theaters now. I mean, and Stellan Skarsgard. You know what? We should just give the whole world to the Skarsgards.
They're great.
You got the Northmen. I mean, Pennywise.
You have one of his sons who just crushed on Vikings. His
Yep.
Floki character, so fun, so good.
Was
I mean,
one
what-
of them in Melancholia?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dawned on me. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Man.
I mean, what's a party like at the Skarsgård household? I mean, do they have just Hollywood royalty parading all around? It'd be fun.
I think so.
Amazing. What's next?
From Sam Fisher, I'm confused as to what Pre-Mor is. A corporation sanctioned by the Empire to be their own police? An Empire agency that Star Wars just calls corporations?
Well, I mean, that's a real curious question now. I mean, I think that we don't quite know. I mean, I'm sure in the Andor visual dictionary that is undoubtedly going to come out, they're going to define all of this for us, so then we'll know. But it makes sense that larger companies, I mean, planet-wide businesses, it would make sense that they have their own security forces. Why should the Empire have to police a private company's stuff?
Yeah, it came across to me as a separate conglomerate kind of situation of just corporate authority running them.
Yes, and I also saw it as it's their law enforcement division. It's another
Yes.
part of the corporation.
Yeah.
So, what's next?
All right, so we're going to start with Hero 75, and then I'll go to the part 2 of it.
Okay. Hero 75, 1 of 2. I must admit the show isn't working for me yet. I can tell they are setting things up, so I will give it some more time. But if it wasn't for Rogue One, I would have turned off after episode 1. Loved the droid and them dealing with local police, not Imperials. Hated the flashbacks to Andor's childhood. Okay, Hero, so that's not working for you. I get that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. You know, also I will grant people it does seem it's out of a different franchise and a movie altogether because we've never seen that kind of thing in Star Wars before. Not really,
Yeah.
but I liked it.
I think for flashbacks, too, I think some of us have been conditioned for the flashback to have a different aesthetic.
Yeah,
Because TV usually puts some kind of filter or a color gradient
Right.
or something, and we're not having that here. So maybe that's part of it.
which
too.
I really like because it adds to the realistic feel. It's like, oh, these people really are outside somewhere.
Yeah. And again, it feels more cinematic.
You know, they did things like they come up and you see like the ruins of this quarry or something when they're on their way to the ship, you know, and you see the wrecked, it looked like there was some kind of a clear cutting machine that was broken down that was just, I don't know what that was, but the idea that they're stripping the forests for natural resources or something. I just love that shot. I thought it was, well, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
and it was another
Epic.
way that this planet and these people are victimized by the Empire.
Exactly.
What's next?
From Tim Platt, that deputy is what you get when you combine Homelander and Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. Dang.
Wow.
I mean, that feels kind of apt.
You're not wrong.
We'll need to see more of him, but
But I do respect his sense of duty and obligation to the job.
this is very, very true. This is very, very true. All right, from Sam Fisher, 1 of 2. During episodes 1 and 2, I couldn't help but think that if this show was a regular crime procedural, we, the audience, would be on the DI side going after a cop killer like Andor against orders. But in that scenario, the cops who died wouldn't have been corrupt. Episode 3 changed that, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I totally agree with that. And I was very aware of that watching this. Like, oh, we're on the flip side because we've been with the rebels the whole time.
Exactly.
So
It does a really, really great job of subverting your own expectations and your own kind of moral compass throughout the Star Wars realm of, oh, Rebels did some messed up stuff.
yeah, they did.
Because that's what happens in wartime.
Cassian Andor killed a man in cold blood and shot him in the head.
Yeah.
In the opening scenes of this episode, or the first episode.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, man. I mean, I knew that was coming.
There's not a lot of pew-pews, but when they are deadly pew-pews.
Oh, yes.
They're sinister pew-pews. From Nightcrawler. The whole 3 episodes, I was saying out loud, so much verisimilitude.
Well,
I love this show so much.
Nightcrawler, you and I park our shuttlecraft in the same shuttle bay.
Good for you guys. From Mans, do you guys think that Disney Plus should use Andor as the template for their more adult content? I really enjoyed how the show used mature themes without it being exploitative. Thanks for the show, guys.
I mean, look, I do. And I'm not saying that everything, the slower pace of this show should be what they adapt every Star Wars or Marvel show to be. But I do like the adult nature of this. And I've told people that I have read the scripts for Secret Invasion. And Secret Invasion has a more of a vibe like this. And I was like, okay, I like this. I like seeing this more because I think we all want that. I think the real problem that people have had Mandalorian's more of a confection to me. This short, fun throwback. Whereas Book of Boba Fett, I wanted to be more like this, and it was just goofy. It was like for kids. Who wants that from Boba Fett?
Well, especially when you're promised a show about a crime syndicate, essentially.
Yeah.
Where it was, everyone seems a little too nice in this gang.
And they're all walking around the same street, but this felt like, oh, this is real. I like that. All right, what's next?
From Nightcrawler. Andor is amazing. I was hooked after the first 8 minutes. Now that's how you make a pilot episode. Great rating is back in Star Wars, baby.
I agree. I mean, that's what this was. These 3 episodes were the pilot.
Exactly.
Chopped into 3 episodes. I don't think I would imagine if you saw the script for this, it would be one long script. And they just shot 90 pages, and then I will cut it up later.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they did. What's next?
From Jamie Sundays, brothels exist. Salacious Crumb, here I come, baby.
Speaking of Salacious Crumb.
Speaking of Salacious Crumb, here he is.
And speaking of brothels.
He is so hard to get to stay on your shoulder, though.
He's a finicky little office mate.
It's true.
He cute.
Don't lose Salacious Crumb.
From Matthew Medina, 1 of 2. It's returned to Lucas's vision, as Rob was saying earlier, that embraced the political science aspect and how social systems react to fascism.
There's a part 2.
Oh.
It might be this.
My question yesterday was about Andor, asking if it feels revolution in Latin America, because the gorgeous shots look like Chile, Peru, Bolivia. Feels like it.
I definitely think that's something that they're going for. I mean, the what they might be mining, it could be the whole cocaine industry down in Bogota or something. But I definitely think it feels that way. I mean, it definitely has aspects of that, and intentionally so. And that's what it gives it more like Luke looking at those twin setting suns. We relate to it because there's something analogous on our world here that we can relate to. Viva la revolucion.
From, where are we? Hoser Mais, are we going to hear Ezra Bridger message?
I bet we will, because maybe.
Well, we just
Aren't
had
we?
the casting announced.
So,
Which, I mean, yeah, you could do a VO in post really easily.
sure.
But I don't know if we'll get that this season.
Yeah. Well, clearly somebody's being contacted. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how all this plays out. And I look, I love the fact that we're already getting established characters like Mon Mothma who are going to get fleshed out. We're going to see her as a main character in the show because we've never seen that. We've only seen her as some kind of a functionary here and there. But I want to see her. I want to see her doing her thing, like getting up in dudes' faces and like yelling at them in the Senate.
Absolutely. Well, because as a kid before, when I had only seen, the first 3 Star Wars, or the first 3 that we get, I always was so intrigued by her of, well, okay, there's so few women in Star Wars, and this woman is leading a battalion. She is letting everyone know how they're going into the battle.
Yes.
What's her deal?
Yeah,
and then there was nothing else, so.
Although I will tell you that I was never enamored of her performance in Return of the Jedi.
That's fair.
I can't wait to see Mon Mothma kick some ass. All right, what's next?
From Jamie Sundays, I'm kind of hoping for less action and more drama.
Well, I think that's what we're getting. But I look, we still had a pretty great street fight in the third episode. I think we're going to get some great ship action. We're going to get some space battles. I think we're going to get action.
Yeah.
But again, I think that the nature of this show isn't that it's going to be action all the time.
Exactly. And given the writing staff too, it's going to be a lot of tension.
Yes.
And so then we will get into that powder keg, but I think so much of the show is going to be that fuse being lit and us waiting for it to happen.
And our little sniveling functionary now has a real reason to hate Cassian Andor.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's going to be turned into a relentless shark looking for his prey, which I loved. I think that's great.
Oh, I'm so excited to see how it unfolds.
What's next?
From Marie Seafring, I really enjoyed the first 3 episodes. It's not just shooting on location, it's the fact that the dialogue is interesting. The actors are given something worthwhile to do. Great start.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, dialogue has never been a strong suit of the Star Wars franchise, and certainly not in either The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, or The Book of Boba Fett. I mean, you have an Academy Award-winning writer writing this. So they've certainly elevated. They've really classed up the joint, so to speak. By dirtying everything down, they've classed it up.
Oh, wholeheartedly agree. And yet having everyone have action and agency, ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's great that everyone has an actual task that they need to get done.
Absolutely. And they've got their own concerns outside of whatever our main character's concerns are. What's next?
From Ravon, love the sending in a $20 super chat too. Thank you.
It's Revan, like Darth Revan.
Oh shoot, sorry,
Right?
Revan.
I think.
Love these first 3 episodes. Writing, acting, directing, music, cinematography are all on point. I'm glad we have a heavy mythology Star Wars show done well in Mandalorian, and now we have a deep spy thriller. Hype.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're absolutely right with that. And that's one of the things that makes this show so exciting is that, again, I've always wanted a serious Star Wars show, and I really haven't got one since Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean, all I've been getting is, Phantom Menace was so goofy. I mean, it was all just goofball stuff.
Well, it felt like a merchandising movie.
And the design work, I didn't believe the designs. The designs in this are, there's even variations on the Rebel attack transporters. Like we've seen various variations on that because the government flipped. So we're getting Star Destroyers used to be, the Republic Star Destroyers. Now they're not.
I love how dirty everything is and busted everything is, which I think is great. And I do think it's really great that we're getting this spy thriller show. Mandalorian is a great series for deep diving into lore. And I say that as somebody who didn't read as many of the Star Wars comics. I didn't read the novelizations. I mostly have my knowledge from, animated series and then the films themselves. So it's harder for me to sometimes notice those deep dives, whereas my husband will lose his mind. But Mandalorian also sort of did let's test the waters of playing with different genres, right?
Sure.
Doing these kind of Kurosawa moves. We did have one that felt like a sweeping romance too, when the Mandalorian goes and meets that woman and, helps protect her village and everything. There's some really interesting non-typical Star Wars storytelling that happens there. But it's really cool for a show to fully commit to that.
Well, also like the Bill Burr episode of the second season of Mandalorian where they infiltrate the Imperial base.
That episode is so good. Bill Burr, where have you been hiding that acting?
See, to me, that was the closest thing to what I wanted out of this kind. I was hoping that we'd see more of. I would say that episode is very similar to what we're getting, at least with the first 3 episodes of Andor, and I'm so there for it because I want that kind of gravitas. Star Wars had gravitas. I thought Empire had a lot of gravitas when I first saw it. I mean, I saw it 26 times at the theater.
Damn.
Sat in the same seat every time at the UA 150 on 6th and Blanchard,
If
downtown
someone was
Seattle.
in your seat, were you just...
No, that's why whenever
bandwagon?
I went and saw the movie, I had to be first in line. I had to be first in line, and that's what I did the summer of 1980. Every weekend, I would just go.
Aww.
I'd take the bus down, friends would show up, have to be first in line, 8th seat, left side, front row balcony. That's where I sat every time.
Dang.
Yep.
Revan was the first person to write in about the music, and I'm shocked because that's something that really stood out to me during these first 3 episodes. The rock music, the guitars, the drums.
Just music's so good.
What did you guys think about the music in this show?
Oh, it's incredible.
I thought the music was great,
beautiful.
and it suited the show. it's funny because I do feel like when I was watching Kenobi, I'm like, where are the Star Wars themes? And there weren't any. I mean, the music was so sparse. The music here kicks ass.
Oh, it's incredible. The sound mixing on a whole is so good. When we just have that kind of ting, right, that was going on, it feels so ominous, especially because Mara is just telling, it's going to be worse once that stops.
Well, I
That's
love
what
like
you
the
need to be concerned
dudes,
about.
like not just the guy on the big gong, but everybody that doing the warning things.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
I
love.
and then it's great. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
From
V.
Sorry, Revan?
No,
Revan?
from V.
Oh, from V. Oh, there we go. V sending in some money to support us.
And that's
Just
it.
be sweet.
That's it?
That's so nice. Yay.
Well, that brings us to the conclusion, the shocking conclusion of the first of what I hope will be many great Andor after shows. I mean, this show, I'm so excited about this show. Kind of like after I saw the first episode of House of the Dragon, I'm like, all right. Now this, I've been, well, not in a bad way, not like a lascivious way.
I just like the way you said that.
I mean, now I feel like Star Wars is back. As you would say, back, baby.
Back, baby.
Yeah, see, there you go. Say it one more time.
Baby.
Say it's back, baby.
It's back, baby.
There you go. Yeah. Don't you think so?
I think so. I haven't been this jazzed about a Star Wars thing in a while, and that's really bummed me out because I want to love everything that's part of this universe because I love this universe. I really, really do. And I felt so lukewarm about so many things, and I want to feel Luke toasty inside, a little. Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking.
Lukewarm, but when Luke was hot,
Yeah.
he was better off, right?
I want to feel Luke inside.
No, oh God, Ray. No, I was trying to make a joke about the thing he kills, or that Han splits opens and puts him inside.
tauntaun.
A tauntaun, thank you. Wow, it's been a long day.
It has been a long
I botched that joke. Can we cut this? It's not live, right? We can edit it. We
It
can
is
edit
live.
this feed. It is?
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, that'll do it for this first episode of the Andor After Show. I want to thank all of you for generously supporting the show via your super chats. You give us something great to talk about, and I love hearing your opinions, as do you.
I love your opinions.
And I want to thank, of course, Taylor and Jonathan Boyko for producing this show. I want to thank Ray Ora for moral support and humor.
And awesome graphics. Our lower thirds are bomb.
They are the bomb. And I want to thank Mr. John Campea himself for creating this great channel that allows us to even be here spouting our nonsense.
Very true.
And on that note, join us here once again next Wednesday, where we are going to discuss our first trip to Coruscant since I don't know when. Been a long time,
gonna be
but
so exciting.
we're going to see
Headed to
Mon
the city.
Mothma. Ooh.
Woo.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye, baby.